Hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit to my channel, my name is Peter and I live on a wooden boat here in Victoria, British Columbia. Not this wooden boat, this is MV Zephrus, my friend's boat, which I've been doing some work on last few episodes. And the episode coming up, we finally get it to the point where we can go cruising. Now, I'm messing with the timeline a little bit. I'm sitting here in the wheelhouse of MV Zephrus and everything looks nice and hunky-dory, Christmas and all that. 2 hours ago, this was a workshop and the engine was all exposed, and much like it's going to be in a few minutes when you start to watch the video. Anyway, it's 2 days before Christmas and I needed to get the boat ready to be able to go downtown Victoria, which is only 15 minutes, so 10 minutes cruise away, so we could spend the holidays right downtown Victoria, and you'll see some footage of that, I'm sure. But to get to there, I had to make sure that the boat was safe enough to take even that very short voyage. It'll effectively be the sea trial. So the upcoming episode is putting in the controls, fixing up the start and stop mechanisms, and getting it to the point where it can make that voyage safely. So anyway, if you're interested in that sort of thing, please stick around and consider subscribing. Otherwise, let's get on with it. Alright then, back at it. Alright. Engine runs. Coolant seems fine, no leaks, everything's good. Lots left to do. Next thing is to get some engine controls going. I think I've shown these to you briefly before. These are beautiful little cast bronze quadrants, and they basically run cables. One for the throttle, one for the transmission. And so the cables go down. Where do they go down? They go down here. Through a bunch of shivs down there. Here they are coming by here. And they end up down there on that shiv. And they came forward before. So one set ran the transmission. So here's the controller for the hydraulic controller for the transmission. And the other one used to be about there because the previous Perkins was on its side. This Perkins is not. And I need to control this lever here. But you can see the line of sight from this lever to that shiv is right to the oil filter. So that's not going to work. So, a little fiddling to be done, for sure. Okay, let's see what we can do. Now, as cool as that quadrant is, I don't actually like this setup. I certainly don't like the way it's currently employed, as so much was on this boat rather hack. This pulley, shiv, was bolted to one of the nuts, bolts, on the bell housing of the transmission down here to return back to the quadrant. Although if you remember before, the whole operation was tilted over a little bit, as well as the engine being on its side, so nothing is exactly lined up. I'm going to have to budge some stuff. I'm going to play with it for a little bit before I show you any more of this mess. Okay, I'm deferring that little misery for a while. It's a tough thing to do by yourself, trying to keep all the cable and all the shivs all the way around. Anyway, I'm not going to work with that right now. I'm going to have to get some new shivs, try and figure out how to realign at the back. What I'm going to play with now is a stop cable. Now, the boat originally had a stop solenoid, which was pretty sketchy. I kept having to open the floor to turn the engine off. So I'm not reusing that. What I'm going to use is a stop cable, which many boats have. Now, a genuine marine stop pull cable is an obscene amount of money. So this is a truck supply PTO cable, which was substantially cheaper, and we'll see if it'll do the trick. I'm sure I'm not the first person to use this solution. Let's not make a mess here and take an eye out, because I only have one. Alright, so the thing is, of course, that there's nothing for me to grab the cable with down here or anywhere, so this is going to be a bit of a homebrew. There we go, I knew it would do that. Alright, let's put it through the dashboard first. Deal with all this later. So listen, while we're on the topic of cast bronze, I don't know if I even actually showed you this dash panel before, part of the same era probably. It says Monk, it says 1954, there's some fish, room for 6 gauges in attack, and a bunch of switches. Now it's really cool, but it's not original. The reason I know it's not original is because these markers here are actually just cut out Dymo labels. Remember those squeeze labels really that were stuck in the mold when they made this? I mean, it's nicely done, but that cheapens it drastically. Plus, half these gauges are for a diesel turbo, which the engine, the boat did not come with originally. It would have had a Chrysler Crown 6-cylinder gas. So it's neat. It's not original. But we're going to use it. It's super cool. We're not going to you know, changed patina on it at all. Thought we might try and take some of this out, but I think it's just part of the way it is. So where to put the pull stop? I mean, the sweetest spot would have been to drill a new hole right here, out of the way, not likely to catch it, near the controls. Unfortunately, it's directly over the gubbins for the helm, so that's not good because there's chain and all kinds of junk in there. It's a little tight over here. It would be neat to have it on one of those angled castings about there, which is I think probably ideal, or maybe here. Anyway, gotta play with this a bit. Yeah, whatever. So you can see I've settled for here. Nice and clear below. I feel a little bit funny cutting into this nice bronze casting, but beauty. Okay. This needs some planning. On, off, excellent. Now the hard part. Okay, enough of that, I'm switching to wiring. Let's do something fun. Put the key back in here. So I'm actually using 3-conductor, what I consider to be 110 AC, although it's not absolutely certain that it has to be used for AC, but if I see a cable that is green, white, black on a boat, I'm awfully tempted to think it's AC. So where I need 3 conductors in a few places, I'm putting shrink tube on it with big labels on it to indicate that it is not an AC circuit. So I'm going to run 3-wire to the engine, which will pick me up the starter, temperature sensor, oil pressure sensor in one cable and relatively tidy. And let's get to it. It's definitely beer time, well into the afternoon. And what's beer without some nuts? Okay. Let's get this thing going, eh? Alright, so what will we call hot? Let's call black hot. Why am I doing this over the bilge? Let's make start green, because, you know, green for go. Okay, let's get this in place. Okay. Nice, 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 nice. And that's ready to go. Let's connect it up to some stuff. Okay, so for the engine end, I'm basically got the cable that's going to come and it'll end up zip tied onto the engine somewhere. And then 3 wires, start, temperature, oil. And they're all now long enough to go in their various directions. Again, green was start. So pop that on here. Oh yeah. Alright, hello there. Well, it's blowing an absolute stink out here today. Totally bouncing around. My boat is in some ways worse because it's upwind further down the dock. Well, we're going to carry on. I've just been and bought a bunch of biddies, some of which is hardware store quality to deal with this throttle and shifter situation. It's ugly. I'm not happy with it. I'm going to have to redo the whole thing really, because the shivs that are on there are, you know, only slightly better than clothesline grade. Anyway, got to get it going, got to figure out what else is going to be a problem, and it'll help me design what I need for later. Anyway, okay, so I took apart that nasty 4-gang shiv, and it's all broken up. All the little bakelite shivs are broken and chipped, and it's just so horrendous. I thought maybe I could take it apart and make it into 2 double ones by making some new brackets, and it's just, I can't, you know, worry about that. So I've gone to the hardware store and bought some nasty little pulleys. I just got to make this work. The boat has to be able to go downtown to the downtown harbor for Christmas in 2 days, and right now I can't shift or adjust the throttle. So got to get something going that is temporary but not drive around downtown dangerous either. So okay, let's see what we can do here. Alright, so I have a pull to stop that's functional. And if you look down there, you'll see the injection pump. There you go. It's the middle of the afternoon and it's almost sunset. It's the winter solstice. It's the shortest day of the year, which means every day from now on is longer. Awesome. Okay, these buddy cable controls. Yeah. So here's the basic situation. I've tidied it up as well as I can. Here are the two cables that will operate the transmission. This is the hydraulic valve of the transmission, forward, neutral, reverse. This is the original pulley that was on here, sheave, from the original setup, and this is bad but not horrible. So I'm going to have to I put a nice big new piece of marine plywood here that's good and solid to affix some pulleys to, and when I say pulleys, I mean god ugly hardware store. Yeah. The point about using something really obscene for this is that it'll add to the shame to replace it more quickly, and that's up to you guys. You guys got to remind me. Peter, are you still using those hardware store pulley blocks on the shifter cables? Anyway, I just got to get this thing moving, and this is about the only way I'm going to be able to do it quickly. So I don't know if you can forgive me. Let's see what we can do. So the idea is the cables will come through those blocks to a turnbuckle. It's aluminum. And to a galvanized bolt, which will come through here, and that will be the adjuster for the whole thing. And then the other cable will go around the block and a loop around the bolt in the other direction. And as disgusting as that sounds, that is 10 times nicer than what was here before. Sort of zip ties and... Anyway, it was horrible. Okay, let me get some of this together and show you how it's going to work. Okay, so I've determined to come straight off those shivs down there. My location has to be somewhere on this line, probably a bit around here, so that I can get this alignment nice, because I want that to be pretty good. So I'm going to say if that's held at a 45, I got to put a marker right about there. I got to open this up so that I can actually put the pulley through it. I didn't want to buy a hook because I didn't think a hook would be safe. Let's see if that's enough to open through there. Yes, it is. And we can close this up again. Make sure I have this alignment correctly. Okay, so now it's really just a matter of, I'm going to tighten this up a bit so that I have some tensioning in it later, and I'm going to take the rest of the slack up with this connection here. Start with it about there, but we can, well, fundamentally this is already working. Let's see, tighten this up a little bit more. I don't know if there's going to be enough in this turnbuckle. Okay, so it's in neutral now. All right. Forward and reverse. Not too bad. I like it. Actually, and having driven this boat before, I can tell you that that actually works with less friction than it did before. What I am going to do, though, maybe you can't tell where you're sitting in the camera, but the cable is coming up quite a bit. And I'd like to reduce that angle a bit. And at the same time, I can improve the geometry of the shifting, because there's another hole in this lever on the valve. So I'm going to move the bolt to the lower hole and see if that helps my geometry a little bit. It actually just works perfectly. There's a little shoulder in this lever arm here that actually the flat of the nut fits into perfectly. So that works quite nicely. You know, it's gross, but it works. And I trust it, believe it or not, even though it's a little bit sketchy. Alright, so I've attached the return shiv to this. It's going to need another washer because it'll come off that nut. But that's all good. That's very well lined up with this, and it'll go back and meet that shiv back there. So now I just have to find a way to attach the cables to the actual throttle lever. So let's have a tinker with that. Alright, so the deceleration cable, in other words the slowdown cable, goes through the shiv, and I've got it clamped onto one end of the turnbuckle. And what I'm going to do, I need lock nuts. These turnbuckles don't come with lock nuts, but I bought some spare nuts to do that as well. But in this case, I'm going to use the eye bolt as the fitting to go through the throttle lever on the injection pump. Now this will limit the amount of adjustment I can do with the turnbuckle to a certain degree. I mean, I still have a lock nut on this side, it'll still lock it. I can still move back and forth a little bit, but it'll sort of get me started. Now this currently has a return spring on here. I can't remember if either my boat or this boat before had a return spring on it. We'll see if it creeps down a bit. I may have to either soften or remove that return spring. Okay, so this should work now. I just have to put the other end of the cable on this end of this turnbuckle, and we'll see how we do. I'm liking this. Now what I'd done, because I needed to reverse the long cable for the short cable, because it changed the direction anyway, I had to be able to pull this cable through without spinning the quadrant. You notice the quadrant does not move the cable now because this screw is loose. Quite a nice little system. So this just gets tightened down reasonably tight. Oh, don't be sliding off bronze, Peter, that's gross. Okay, and so now it pulls the cable, and this is the neutral idle position, and forward gives me throttle. Let's have a look at what's happening down here. Seems to work just nice. Very, very, very nice. And I can hit the max stop, which is pretty good. I think I've almost done it. I'm going to tidy this up, clean it up, cut off some cables, wrap some loose ends. Pretty darn close to an operating boat, which is great because it is Friday night and Sunday morning we steam out of here downtown, which is not far. I can't really show you right now. It's basically just off the bow of that trawler. It's an 8-minute steam from here. But wait till you see where we're going to spend Christmas. It's pretty awesome. I got to clean up. All right then. Well, it's time for a full helm test. The key is here to start it. The pull cable is here to stop it. The throttle and the shifter seem to be working just fine. So let's see if we can start it, rev it a bit, put it in gear. Well, I won't rev it in gear at the dock. Put it in reverse, back to neutral, back to idle, pull to stop. Ready? Yeah. Reverse. Neutral. Forward. I'd say we have an operational boat. Well, yeah, you saw how much of that was pretty buckshy. I understand, and that's true. In time, hopefully in a brief period of time, I will replace all that mess with some really nice proper shivs and tidier and whatever. But I'm actually confident enough that this will get us downtown and back for this little interlude. Not that there aren't other things to do, but not much. Getting darn close. Okay, wow, I'm starting a list of things that I've forgotten, and some of you are probably going, Peter, did you remember to whatever, and by the time you get it to me, I'll have long since discovered. Anyway, I think I'm basically done. I have one day left to clean up because this place is a disaster. It wasn't one of my tidiest operations because I was working hard and fast. I'm pleased with everything, even that cable thing. It's okay, actually. You know, I wouldn't do a major, passage with it, but for the little trip I'm going to do, it's going to be just fine. So tomorrow I'll also run around, improve all the strain relief on all the hoses, put some proper P-clips on everything, go over the wiring one last time. The wiring is still also just in semi-temporary. I mean, mostly all the wiring is to the panel, but is not fully wired up in there yet. That's going to be a couple of episodes worth of work, no doubt. But I want to make sure it's, secure enough for the voyage. Yeah, on the whole, pretty pleased. So I'll wrap this up now. Back aboard my boat, my beautiful Christmas tree. I'm kind of a Christmas tree guy. I gotta have it. It's gotta come with me. All right? Whew. Well, Merry Christmas from Geordie and Peter. Have a happy holiday. Cheers. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?